Picture this. You've been thinking about playing CS all day. You finish with work, deal with whatever needs to be taken care of at home, and sit down at your computer, tired but excited to game. There's one problem though. None of your friends are around. You load up CS, maybe play some deathmatch or aimbots for an hour, waiting for someone, anyone, to log on. You think about solo queuing but quickly discard it. Who wants to deal with weird randoms, right? You log off and go to bed. Has this ever happened to you? Well, it's happened to me a bit more than I'd like to admit. I knew this fear of solo queuing was holding me back in my journey to improve at Counter-Strike, so I made a plan to conquer it. I started by setting a goal that was separate from winning games. Since even really good players inevitably lose a lot, I would have to get used to the feeling of losing and not let it discourage me too much. Instead, my goal would be to slowly improve at all aspects of Counter-Strike, trying to trust that winning games and ranking up would be an inevitable consequence of this improvement. By shifting my mindset in this way, the result of any one game becomes less significant. In addition, I wanted to try giving myself a more specific goal for each game that I could try to work towards, such as focus on my crosshair placement, or practice these specific opening plays, since these would be easier to track and make progress on. I had an idea this would work from my experience making videos for this channel. When I decide to make a video that requires me to go into solo queue and do some silly play over and over again, I rarely feel stressed or anxious because I'm not exactly trying to win. Or rather, I am trying to win, I would like to win, but winning is more like a side quest rather than the main quest of getting good footage. And so winning should not be a necessary factor in my enjoyment of any given game, and I shouldn't put that mental pressure on myself. Another mental shift I wanted to try and make was to stop treating solo queue like its own separate weird game mode with different rules. A lot of times when I solo queue, I'd mute my team and just kinda run around like a doofus, trying to take as many duels as possible. Since I'm super lucky to have the vast majority of my game time taken up by 5 stacking, I would have this tendency to go into solo queue just to blow off steam. And don't get me wrong, this can be very fun and therapeutic even, but it can also lead to some kind of dark places full of nihilistic thoughts when it's not going well. Just sitting there, absolutely boomed, after dying in the first 15 seconds of the round, silently stewing, waiting for the next round to start just so you can go do it all over again, while thoughts like, there's no point to this, and I am wasting my life playing this game, and other assorted untrue ideas float through my head. My plan to counteract this was to treat these games as any other games I would play, with full comms and playing, like normal, whatever that means. To help me work toward these goals, I decided to start a journal and create an entry for every day that I'd solo queue. Here's what that journal looks like. So we fill in the date, and then there's a section for prep, and that includes what we want to focus on for the game that day, a little mental reminder, and then a more long-term goal. And then I have these 2 entries for what's my mental state before the game, what's my mental state after the game. And this is just a way for me to kind of track my mood. Thinking is that if I'm not in a great mental state before I go in and then I play poorly or feel worse after it's over, was it really the game, or did I just get 5 hours of sleep last night and I'm in a rotten mood anyway? Then we have a little section to document what kind of warm-up or practice we did that day, and then a section for how the games went. How did we play? How well did we follow our game plan? What did we do well? What did we do poorly? Did we have fun? Finally, here's a section for issues we might want to highlight, possible solutions, a place to write when we were uncertain during the games, and how we can improve. Also, I 100% don't do this for every game, but I put a little section for demo review notes here as well. So here's an example of an actual entry from a little while ago. I wanted to focus on crosshair placement in this game. Little reminder for myself that nothing is guaranteed in CS. I set a long-term goal of quick decision making since I struggle with that a lot. I took note of my mental state before and after the game. I practiced with recoil control and a little KZ, and we can see here that I played 2 games on Face It today, both on Inferno. We won both. I thought I played pretty well. I had good comms. I set my teammates up. Maybe I baited a little bit and forgot I had the bomb one round, and I had a lot of fun. Looking at the Leadify page for this, not sponsored, I can see that I had average support crosshair placement, and my solution was to look at the demo to understand the context. So I looked at the demo and took some notes down. I want to mention here that I heavily borrowed the formatting from this from Zotek's great video about how he got better at CS, and you should definitely check that video out. So how has it been going? It's been a couple weeks since implementing this plan into my daily routine, and I can definitely say that it's helped. I've been hitting solo queue in either Face It or matchmaking about 1 to 2 times per day, along with some targeted warm-ups and training. It's already less stressful to queue simply because it's starting to become a habit, and while I have definitely run into my fair share of weirdos, most people are at least willing to be somewhat normal or at least silent. I also find it's slightly easier to work on particular aspects of my game in solo queue. It can be a somewhat more zen and pure experience without the constant banter and crosstalk that comes with playing alongside friends. Also, trying to play a more proper style of CS, whatever that means for my level anyway, with active comms makes the whole endeavor feel more worth it. It hasn't been a complete walk in the park though. Sometimes the games go bad. Like really bad. And when no one is talking or people are mad at each other, it can make the whole exercise feel like a waste of time. I'm not the most extroverted person, and while I'm happy to jump in and make calls when the mood is good, I tend to shut down when everyone else is silent or tilted. I'd like to do a better job at this and at least continue my callouts even when it feels pointless to do so, but I honestly don't know if I'm going to be able to. I feel pretty drained and discouraged after these kinds of games, and that hasn't really changed. But when I get discouraged, I try to refer back to these mental reminders that I've been setting for myself before each session that help me put a check on these distorted negative thoughts. These have helped me manage my expectations for each game, because for me, it's setting unrealistic expectations that most often leads to these negative emotions. For example, I would consider the following types of expectations ones I would want to avoid. Number 1, expecting to win. The outcome of any given game is not guaranteed. Unless wildly misplaced in rank, you should expect to win about half of your games. And you should expect to be a determinative factor in whether you win or lose in less of those. All you can do is play your best and try to do whatever is possible to make a win more likely to occur. Number 2, expecting to not make mistakes. Mistakes are a necessary component of improvement. Perfect CS is simply not possible. Mistakes give us the opportunity to identify and correct issues with our game and should be looked at with a kind and forgiving eye. Number 3, expecting improvement to be linear or even noticeable at all. This is not how getting better at stuff works, especially once you've been at it for a little bit. You don't just decide you want to be good at CS, watch some videos about how to play correctly, and then magically get better. It can take a lot of time to incorporate new concepts. In the process of incorporating these concepts, which necessarily involves a lot of active thinking, can likely result in temporary dips in performance. So there's a big component of trusting the process here, which can be difficult after a string of tough games, for sure. I'm doing my best. Now, this is admittedly a lot of effort to go through, especially for a lower skilled player, but I definitely am starting to see the benefits already, and the hope is that one day I will be better and more knowledgeable about the game. A big thing that I need to keep reminding myself is that I can only help myself by playing these games, even if I experience frustration and a loss of rank or elo along the way. It's not easy, but I'm doing my best to take the long view. Separate from this, it just feels nice to not be afraid of something anymore. One last reason I've embarked on this solo queue odyssey is that I'm going to be spending some time working with a coach, and I feel like I need to be playing more consistently to get the optimal value out of these sessions. I'm really excited about this, so look forward to some coaching content coming soon. Thanks for watching this video. I want to take a moment to promote a brand new Discord server I started where people of all skill levels can get together to chat about CS and hopefully organize games together. I will of course post video and stream updates in here, but my goal is that it's less about me and more of a hub for chill people to connect over our shared hobby. Oh, and thanks for 1,000 YouTube subscribers. That's pretty cool.